Okay, if you are in 7 Excel, we are working from the Advanced 2 textbook. If you are in Math 8, you're going to have to use the online Advanced 2 textbook or look at the pages on the agenda because this is not in the Course 3 textbook. We are doing lesson 12.1. It can be found on pages 504 to 505, or the link on the agenda will also take you to these pages. And we're going to be talking about adjacent and vertical angles. So let's talk about adjacent angles. Adjacent angles. Adjacent angles share a common side and have the same vertex. And the most important thing to remember about adjacent angles, the easiest way to remember, they're next to each other. So adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other. Adjacent angles are next to each other. So what does that mean? Well, angle 1, 2, 3, 4. So adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other. They share a common side and they have the same vertex. So we can say angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. They share a side and they share the same vertex. So now let's take a look. Angle 2 and angle 3 are adjacent. Here we go. Angle 3 and angle 4 are adjacent. And then angle 4 and angle 1 are adjacent. So adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other. That's all. It's vocabulary. Adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other. Okay, so now let's talk about vertical angles. Vertical angles are opposite of each other. So vertical angles are opposite of each other and they are congruent. So there's 3 important things we need to remember here. Vertical angles are opposite and congruent. We need to remember those 3 things. What does that mean? One, two, three, 4. So vertical angles are opposite of each other and they're congruent. So angle 1 is opposite angle 3 and they are congruent. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. They are opposite of each other, so they are vertical angles. And then angles 2 and 4 are the same. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because they are vertical angles. They're opposite of each other. So adjacent means next to, vertical means opposite of each other. Okay? Now let's talk about labeling angles? How do we label angles? A, B, C, D, E. We label the points on the angle in the same order that they appear. So this would be angle A, E, B. And the vertex of the angle will always be in the middle of the angle name because the vertex is in the middle of the angle. Therefore, it's in the middle of the angle name. So we have angle AEB. And angle AEB is a vertical angle to or congruent to angle CED. These two are vertical angles. So let me label that for you. So this angle right here is a vertical angle to this. Therefore, they're congruent. And when we label angles, we always make sure the vertex, which is in the middle of the label. So angle AEB is a vertical angle or opposite of angle CED. Therefore, they are congruent. So when we label our angles, the vertex is always in the middle. Or I should say the vertex, because vertices is more than one. So the vertex is always in the middle. Okay. And then we can also say angle AEB is adjacent to angle BEC. They're next to each other. They're next to each other. And that's helpful too, because we know that this is a straight line. AEC is a straight line. And we know a straight line is 180 degrees. So if we know this is 180 degrees, we know that angle AEB plus angle BEC has to equal 180 degrees. That's going to help us. So let's jump into that. Let's jump into that. Okay, so I'm going to tell you 40 degrees, X, Y, and Z. So this is 40 degrees, and then we have angles X, Y, and Z. Knowing that this is 40 degrees, can we figure out the measurement of angles X, Y, and Z? Absolutely, we can. So this angle, 40 degrees, is a vertical angle to angle Y. So angle Y is a vertical angle to the measurement that they've given us. And if it's a angle Y is a vertical angle, and if it's a vertical angle, then it is congruent. So angle Y is a vertical angle, it's opposite, and it's congruent. Therefore, we can say angle Y is equal to 40 degrees. because they are vertical angles. They are opposite of each other and they are congruent. So angle Y is 40 degrees. Can we figure out angle X and Z? Absolutely we can. So 40 degrees and angle Y are adjacent angles. Let me underline this so that you guys know that it goes with the pink. Okay. So 40 degrees and angle X are adjacent angles. So angle X is adjacent. And we know that a straight line is 180 degrees, right? So a straight line is 180 degrees. It's half of a circle. So a straight line is 180 degrees. So we know that 40 degrees plus angle X has to equal 180 degrees because it's on a straight line. So can we figure out what angle X is? Absolutely. Angle X is 140 degrees. So angle X, because angle X is adjacent to the 40 degrees and it's on a straight line, and we know a straight line is 180 degrees, we know that 40 degrees plus angle X has to equal 180 degrees. So now we can figure that out. Okay, now we need to figure out angle Z. There's two ways we can do this. We can say, well, angle Z is a vertical angle. Angle Z is vertical to angle X. Therefore, it's congruent to angle X. So angle Z is vertical to angle X. Therefore, it is congruent to angle X. Therefore, angle Z is equal to 140 degrees. Okay, so knowing this one measurement, we could figure out these other three measurements. So keeping that in mind, let's say we have a 90-degree angle. You can always tell a 90-degree angle because it'll have a little square right here. It's telling you that it is a corner, that it is 90 degrees. (31 degrees). And then this is X plus 4 degrees. Can we figure out the measure of this angle? Can we figure out the value of X and then the measure of this angle? Yes, we can. So these are adjacent angles. They're next to each other. And we know that these adjacent angles, this whole thing here, is 90 degrees. The whole thing is 90 degrees because this little box right here told us so. This little box tells us it's 90 degrees. It's a corner. So this whole thing is 90 degrees. So that means X plus 4 plus 31 is equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so let's subtract 31. X plus 4 equals 59. Subtract 4, what we do to one side, we must do to the other. X equals 55. So X is equal to 55. If we know that X is equal to 55, can we figure out this measurement? Yes. 55 plus 4 equals 59 degrees. So this is 30 degrees. This is 59 degrees. Okay. And then we are going to be constructing angles, but instead of using a plastic protractor, we're going to be using an online protractor. And I want to show you. Let's take a look at example 3.
Draw a pair of vertical angles with a measure of 55 degrees. Use a protractor to draw a 55-degree angle. Then use a straight edge to extend the lines to form two intersecting lines.
Okay, that wasn't very helpful. Okay, what I did want to show you. Let's preview this assignment without answers. Okay, when we get down here, right here, use the protractor to determine which diagram has a pair of vertical angles with a measure of 25 degrees. Okay, I know that a 90-degree angle looks like a corner of a piece of paper. This is a 90-degree angle. Okay, so then half of a 90-degree angle is 45 degrees. So this here is a 45-degree angle. They're asking me to find an angle that's 25 degrees. That means it's going to be narrower than this. So when I look at that, I can cross off this angle and this angle. I'm not, because those are way more than 90 degrees. We can cross off this angle and this angle, because those are way more than 90 degrees. And the same thing here. So we can cross off these obtuse angles that are way more than 90 degrees. So I'm going to be measuring these narrower angles in here. Okay. So I'm going to click on the protractor. Now with the protractor, you want to make sure that the vertex, right here is the vertex, lines up with the crosshairs of the protractor. So I can move this protractor, and I want to make sure that the vertex lines up with those crosshairs, and that this ray right here lines up with the 0. So my vertex is lined up with the crosshairs, and this ray right here is lined up with the 0. So now I'm going to, here's my 0. I'm following it around until I meet this ray. So that looks like 10, 25. This looks like it could be 25 degrees. But I want to make sure, because this isn't exact, I want to make sure. I'm going to slide my protractor over here, make sure that the vertex is lined up with the crosshairs, and that this ray is lined up on the 0. And then I'm going to follow it up, 10, 20, 35. Okay, this angle here is 35 degrees. So if this angle is 35 degrees, well, then this angle is 35 degrees. Let's check this one just to make sure. I'm going to line up the vertex with the crosshairs. make sure that this ray is lined up with the 0. And then I'm going to follow it up, 10, 15. So this is only 15 degrees. So I'm not even going to mess with this one because I know that one's too much. So this is 15 degrees. This is 35 degrees. This is my 25-degree angle. So you line the vertex up with the crosshairs on the protractor, and then you make sure that the ray is on the 0, and you count your degrees going up. Okay? So that's what we are doing today.